some exciting discussions this morning. Just a few words about SAP and our private equity business. As some of you may know, SAP is the leading enterprise software provider in the world today. Over the past 40 years, we've worked with companies of different sizes, industries, geographies, to really make them run better. And throughout this process, we've accumulated quite a lot of experience and knowledge when it comes to driving value creation via operational improvements. So a couple years back, we started an initiative of really partnering with private equity firms and looking at how we can unleash the power of technology to really drive business transformation at PE-owned portfolio companies. So we've had a good model so far, and today we work with many prominent PE firms globally, and certainly here in Asia Pacific and Japan, we forged strong relationships with both domestic and international firms. And that brings us to the event here today. It's really meant to be the first of a series of events that we'll be partnering with the Hong Kong Stock Exchange on, with a focus on value creation. As the title itself suggests, what we're looking at to discuss really is, how can we generate shareholder value, right? Either through the private market or the public market. And to that point, we've got two panel discussions this morning that will hone in on two topics. The first of which is, how do investors work with entrepreneurs? How do they create the trust between them? What is the dynamics around these parties? How do they pick their targets? And most importantly, how do investors drive value creation at these portfolio companies? And then we're going to switch gears a little bit for the second panel to look at the public market. Certainly here in Greater China, we see a lot of opportunities, as we can attest to this morning with the 6 IPOs in one day, right? But there are also a lot of challenges when one thinks about taking on this liquidity event or challenge. And we're going to talk a little bit about, through the eyes of the panelists, what are some best practices, what are some pitfalls to avoid, and just general word of advice or caution, right? So we've got a lot of great content this morning, and I have no doubt that our panelists will generate a very exciting discussion and perhaps at times with some fireworks, right? So really looking forward to that. Now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome up our partner from this event, Hong Kong Stock Exchange, Mr. Michael Chen, to represent Hong Kong Stock Exchange for a welcome address. Please join me in welcoming Michael.
Thank you, James. So, good morning all, and welcome to the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. My name is Michael Chen, and I head the marketing efforts under the Global Markets Division, covering all international markets. And today I'm standing in for Ryan, who can't be here today. He's traveling overseas and couldn't make it back in time. So on behalf of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, I welcome you all again. So we are delighted you have joined this conference today. Today is a special day, a historical day, in fact, at the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, because just now, right outside this auditorium at 9:30, we welcome 6 IPOs, as James just mentioned, record-breaking 6 listings on the same day. And in fact, our trading hall just outside has seen and hosted many IPOs. In fact, 3 out of the 5 biggest IPO the world has ever seen are actually listed on our HKEX platform. And so we do apologize that there was a lot of people out there. They were just here to celebrate this special occasion, to celebrate with these 6 listed companies at the listing ceremonies this morning. We will later have our own ceremony at around 12:30. We will be actually hosting a market open ceremony for this event. It's first of its kind, hosting a market open ceremony for a conference. So with the striking of the gong, So I do welcome and encourage all of you to stay and witness this market open ceremony at around 12:30, and then to the countdown to open the afternoon trading session. So I trust all of you will enjoy today's event, and once again, on behalf of HKEX, I welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Next, I'd like to welcome up Mr. Mark Gibbs, who's the president of SAP China and also the chief operating officer of SAP Asia Pacific and Japan, to represent SAP for a welcome address. Please welcome Mark.
Thanks, James. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of SAP, I would like to welcome everybody here today and thank the Hong Kong Stock Exchange for working with us and working together on this event. As James said, I'm wearing two hats at the moment, one being the COO for Asia Pacific and Japan, but probably more interesting, for the last year I've been the acting president for SAP across Greater China. And it really, having had Hong Kong as my home for the last 12 years, it's really quite interesting to watch what's happening in China and what's happening in this market. I was in Nanjing the other day, and I was invited to an IT park. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this IT park. So I had a certain perception of what I was going to, and when I arrived there, it was 61 square kilometers. And the scale and size of what China is doing in Nanjing to really create the Silicon Valley of China is quite spectacular. So I think the world is changing, and I think the world is changing quickly. 40 years ago, when SAP created business applications as a category, they created this to help companies process their data and make them run better companies. And it was actually 7 years after the creation of SAP that we bought our first hardware. Because for the first 7 years, we worked together with our customers at our customers' site, developing software that they needed to create best-in-class industry applications to help the world run better. And I think 40 years later, 42 years later, the world has changed, but we have continued to develop and grow industry applications, and we cover more than 70% of the world's GDP touches an SAP system. So I think we're very proud of that legacy and very proud of the work that we do globally in helping companies run better. However, in the last 2 years, everything's changed. And I think with the introduction of cloud computing, in-memory technology, data management, and the entire user interface demands that the next generation and current generation are putting on the business, requiring mobile everywhere and anywhere, has again changed the way companies interact. So I think what SAP has been doing is working very carefully to ensure that we can optimize and to continue to develop our industry applications, but support it with the next generation of technology, which will enable cloud computing moving forward. And at the end of the day, this is a global competition. Globalization is now here, alive, and very real. And the way companies use their resources, interact with their customers and their suppliers, will determine if they win or fail. And technology will accelerate that winning or failing. One only has to look at the consumer electronics companies, two very large brands, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Both run global single instances of SAP. Their ability to adjust their value chain, they can introduce new products in hours, as opposed to some of their other competitors who do not have this flexible, agile platform. And they are very definitely winners, and we will see some very big brand names, I believe, disappear in the next few years. So with that said, SAP's goal is to help companies compete in this global competition. And we believe our technology and platform is flexible enough for large companies and small companies. We have over 5,000 companies, for example, in China, across Greater China, 80% of them are in the small to medium-sized category. I'm delighted with the work that we're doing in this private equity initiative and obviously working together with the Hong Kong Stock Exchange about how we can work together with portfolio companies and all of you in the room to help ensure that the companies that you're working with, that SAP can partner with you and make them more competitive and make sure they fit in to tomorrow's value chain. Because if they're not connected, they will die. And I think, I think we're in for a very interesting time that will be driven by technology over the next few years. Gone are the days where these have to be multi-million, 3-year projects. We can run an entire company on the cloud today with OpEx expenditure rather than any CapEx expenditure. So I think this dynamic is changing. So it's a very exciting time to be at SAP. It's a very exciting time to be in China and a very exciting time to be in Hong Kong. So I welcome all of you here today, and I very much look forward to the discussion we're going to have here with the panelists. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.